Good day, folks, and welcome to Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett. As it's episode 58, we're finally getting back after the long break in the Premier League. We're back today, and it's kicked off early this morning with Newcastle against West Ham United. Early penalty given, Anthony Gordon in the box taken down, Alexander Isak scoring and making it a 1-0 game for Newcastle over West Ham. And I do have my picks down before that all happened. I know I'm a day late on this, but picks are in. So, folks, a lot happened in this break. Folks, getting right off the bat with the PSRs. So, we already had Everton get the penalty, 10-point penalty, way overstated or way overdone to a lot of people in that organization, all over my social media. And it not reciprocal by going over building the stadium, about 19 million going over. Folks, Nottingham Forest was given a penalty for also breaking the PSRs. Now, their penalty was only 4 points, and they broke the rules by almost $50 million and the signing of about 22 different players. And, this was when Forest came back into the Premier League, they just started pumping players through the system, and this is after, now we're into Nuno by now, but they're already appealing that decision, and if it doesn't go up to 8 points or 7 points above what Everton got, and it's just going off the things that I've seen, folks, according to what I've seen, and because there's so much out there on the internet today, Everton broke the rules by $19.4 million. They got a 10-point penalty, appealed it, it's 6 points. Forest, they come in, they break the rules by almost $50 million. I think it's 49 or 48.4. For signing 22 different players, give or take. And that's just what I've seen out of those two things. I haven't really seen what Leicester actually did to break the rules, and that's what I'm getting to, folks. So, again, also, Nottingham Forest has put their appeal in to appeal their 4-point deduction, which I think is dumb, because if they're appealing it and they've spent more than Everton, that means the penalty should go up above what Everton got, and that's either 7 or 8 points. 9 points seems a little ridiculous, but over about a difference of about $20 to $30 million in spending, well, where are we at, folks? Jumping over to Leicester City, and one of the teams that was trying to sue Everton for this, both Forest and Leicester were part of the four trying to sue Everton, and now both of them have also been found for breaking PSRs, so that's kind of interesting. I wonder if Southampton and Leeds will continue suing other teams for breaking the PSRs, which seems to be an odd layer that isn't really public. So getting to that, folks, Leicester faltering at the end of this championship season as well, so again, folks, Everton, they've gotten their penalty. They're in for their second charge now. And if we're in for a second charge and they're going to try to keep this steady, it's either going to be between 4 and 6 points, just because of what happened with Forest, which, again, doesn't make sense with costs, just what I've seen, folks. It's hard to get the actual information on the charges. There's different numbers in different articles in different places. It's hard to determine how this has actually been done. Like the one I'm seeing from Eurosport is that Forest exceeded 61 million in a yearly loss. So very confusing for me on that part. There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of it bouncing off each other, canceling each other out, and just it's hard to say what the numbers actually are with how much is on the internet today. Folks, that's enough of the PSR charges. I'll probably bring it up later. Folks, jumping into the championship table right now, and folks, like I was saying, Leicester, after being 12 points up on the rest of the league, has been caught and passed by two teams in the past few days. Granted, Leicester does hold a game in hand. Not quite there, folks. The points right now. Ipswich Town is leading the championship. They have 84 points on the season. They are just 1 point up on Leeds United. They both have 39 games in thus far in the season. Leicester, of course, the championship is still a possibility for them. Only 2 points behind Ipswich Town. But as it sits, they sit in a playoff spot, folks. That automatic promotion spot looking automatic is not so automatic. But it's crazy to see Leeds was able to keep up. Leeds and Southampton were able to come up. Southampton not so much, but definitely Leeds to come up into that fight. Both of them to get past Ipswich. Like a lot of people calling for Ipswich Town to fall off. They're in the lead. Again, the leaders. Ipswich 84, Leeds 83, Leicester 82. That's tight at the top. Unfortunately, Leicester sitting in that playoff spot. The other playoff spots to get into the Premier League, Southampton sitting with 74 points, looking pretty comfortable to be in one of those playoff spots come the end of the season. West Bromwich Albion, they are sitting 7 points behind Southampton in the third playoff spot, and they are 3 points above sixth place. Norwich City sitting with 64 points on the season. Coventry not completely out of it. Preston, you're really pushing it for them to get back into it, but mathematically Coventry City, Preston, Hull City, you've got 60, 59, and 58 points trying to catch Norwich at 64. That's kind of a tall ask if you're looking at Preston or Hull. Still somewhat doable for Coventry City maybe with Ellis Sims, former Toffee. Middlesbrough on down. Good luck to that, and it's rough on my side of things. I like to see Sunderland coming back up after falling so far, and they were sitting in sixth for a really big part of the season, just like a big part of the season, and then really maybe 10 games ago they really started to fall off and drop away from it. Kind of unfortunate for Sunderland. And dropping out of the championship, folks, one thing that we haven't focused on at all is who is actually going down to League One. So Rotherham United, they're sitting at the bottom of the league, 20 points, 19 points behind the two teams ahead of them, tied, or three teams. So this is quite bundled up here at the bottom of the championship as well, folks. Sheffield Wednesday, again, continuing to fight to stay in the championship and keep from dropping down to League One again. 39 points for them. Huddersfield Town in the Premier Leagues only a few years ago, but now they're facing relegation at the bottom of the championship. And Birmingham, they're trying to stay up, trying to get away from League One. Plymouth Argyle look like they're going to have a little bit of an easier time with this, being 2 points up, but Blackburn, QPR, they aren't exactly safe. Folks, we got about 7, depending on the team, between 6 and 8 games left. And 3 teams, Rotherham is pretty much a certainty to go down, but Birmingham, Huddersfield, Sheffield Wednesday, Plymouth Argyle is not really safe. Blackburn, it's a little bit safer if you feel like Blackburn or QPR, but getting tight at the bottom of the championship as well. Jumping over to the Premier League, folks, and the little short week that happened with the FA Cup games, folks. That was a rough time for picks. I got every single one of those 4 picks wrong. Anyway. I'm not even going to look at them. We're just going to throw those out and move on. Oh, wait, that had my picks for this week. Shit. Tried to be dramatic. It was a bad idea because it had my new picks on. Shit. FA Cup, folks. Before actually looking at this week, again, there's a 1-0 lead for Newcastle against West Ham after a Alexander Isak penalty. And folks, the semi-finals of the FA Cup, it's been decided. So after the quarterfinals, Coventry City taking down Wolves 3-2. So the one Cinderella story continuing in this year's FA Cup. Coventry City, congratulations again to Ellis Sims, former Toffee. Newcastle, unfortunately, losing to Manchester City 2-0. Chelsea taking down Leicester City, as Leicester City also went down to 10 men in that game in a 4-2 loss. Manchester United, however, in a game against Liverpool, pulled off I definitely would say upset, but a 4-3 win over Liverpool with a red card, down a man, beating Liverpool, taking them away from getting Klopp that quadruple they've been trying to tout all season. That's not happening. Folks, the semifinals for the FA Cup. This looks like it's going to be a Manchester derby for the final of the FA Cup this season. Coventry, it's a tall ask to go and beat this Manchester United team for a championship side. Looking unlikely. Looking at the City-Chelsea game, City kind of running into a few injuries over the international break. Still a good 3 weeks out from the semifinals, folks, so it's a little bit of time before then. But you got to expect that they would get healthy in 3 weeks. That should be healthy enough. Chelsea, they need Cole Palmer to have a crazy game and the defense to not make any mistakes. Petrovic to stand on his head. It seems like it's too much to ask Chelsea to compete with them. And just to throw this out there, 115 charges against Manchester City and an unknown amount of charges against Chelsea. That's the FA Cup. So, folks, jumping over to match week 30 in the Premier League. And, folks, just to announce this, West Ham United has tied the game, folks. They have tied. Antonio is scored in the 21st minute, and that was just a few moments ago. So, tie game over on Fubo TV, folks. Newcastle and West Ham, tie game. Kicking off the games at noontime, folks. I did have this down. Newcastle and West Ham United. I called Newcastle to take that game 2-1, and we are at a 1-1 draw right now. See if Newcastle can pull that out. Folks, jumping over to the Blues and the Cherries. Bournemouth-Everton at Bournemouth. Everton hasn't won a game in this calendar year, folks. It's so frustrating. I keep on picking them to finally win. This just can't keep it going on with this amazing defense without any offense. And that's what it comes down to, folks. Getting some of the highest amounts of chances in the league. Awful conversion rate. Awful. And I said this in the last episode, getting into that final eighth. Creating corners, creating ways to keep the ball down that end of the field and not just turning it over and having it come back the other way. But also creating the corners, creating those second chances. None of it is happening on the offensive side of the ball for Everton. It's got to happen at some point. And against Bournemouth, Dominic Solanke's had an absolutely amazing season, and Bournemouth has done very well. Maybe overachieving to some people this season, but this is where Everton has got to go into a team that they should outclass. We barely beat Bournemouth to stay up in the league last year at the end of the season, last game of the year. This is really tough to see. It's enough. I expected the guy to have 10 goals this season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin somewhere between 8 and 12 goals. McNeil to score more. Harrison to score some. Actually get some from Idrissa Gueye, Anana. The entirety of the midfield. I'm pretty sure we must have more goals from Michael Keane and Jared Branthwaite. Tarky taking headers off of set pieces. That's ultimately been very frustrating. And set pieces are one thing that we're very good at, but what's the problem? We might not get a corner in a single corner in a game. But that's very frustrating, folks. And again, we haven't won a game in this calendar year. Everton, step it up, folks. 2-0, 2-0. I'm hoping for Everton to finally win this year. Chelsea at home to Burnley, also at 12 o'clock today, pulling for Chelsea to win that one 3-0. Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace, they'll also play at noontime. 2-2 draw expect out of that, folks. Also noontime, Sheffield United at home to Fulham. Bottom of the league, looks like they're going to get relegated. Fulham on a good run of form the last few weeks. Look for them to take it 1-0. Tottenham and Luton Town, and I've said this most of the season, and it's going to be frustrating because I'd rather, at this point, as good as Forest's been, as good as Luton Town's been, I like Luton Town over Forest for some reason. But also, I don't know, I could take either or for staying up, but if Forest getting the penalty, it'll be it's hard to tell what's going to happen. especially after their appeal. But Luton Town, they've competed against the top 6, top 10 teams very well, and only losing in like 1-goal games and maybe even games that should have been draws, and gotten more points out of it. And competing against teams you look at, it's like, how are they doing this? And that was a little bit further back in the season, but just those 1-goal games where they competed where they shouldn't have. Folks, I think it's going to be another one of those in a 2-1 win for Tottenham. Aston Villa and Wolves. Folks, Aston Villa been happy with Unai Emery coming back and doing such a job with Aston Villa. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to keep up to that top 3 this season. It looks like they were in really good opportunity to at least keep on their heels, maybe by 1 or 2 points, but that has fallen away. And I am looking for them to step things up today, hold off Wolves in a 1-0 victory for Villa. Folks, Brentford and Manchester United, Villa and Wolverhampton is also on at 2:30, the lone game at that time, and Brentford and Manchester United on at 5 o'clock today. Brentford, Ivan Toney's return, been regular scoring in this side, but it hasn't been enough for them to do any real amount better. There is regular scoring, but their defense seems to be a bit of a problem of late. Manchester United, coming into this game, looking like they can keep things going. I think this is a good spot for United to keep things rolling and a 3-1 win. Folks, only 2 games on Sunday to wrap up match week 30. Liverpool against Brighton at Anfield. Brighton has had a heck of a season, and they look really good, and a whole lot better than they did a few years ago. Like, this has become quite a top 10, hang out in the top 10 challenge for Europa League team. But Liverpool, coming off the loss in the FA Cup to Manchester United, they've got to be frustrated. They've got to be focused on the Premier League title moving forward. Manchester City and Arsenal to wrap things up on Sunday at 12:30. Now, folks, me looking at this is pretty much like, Mikel Arteta, here is your chance to really put a squeeze on City to push them out of this championship fight coming to the end of the road. It's time to push City out of the way. They've battled injuries quite well for the players that have gone down coming into the lineup. They're younger guys, and that's looked good. But Arsenal's been healthy and scoring relentlessly in the last 5-6 weeks. Probably about, it's got to be like 30 goals, at least 20 in their last 4. It's just disgusting, the scoring rate that they've had in the last month and a half. It's been really freaking impressive, folks. And I'm just calling on Arsenal to take that one down, just because of the run of form that they've been on. Hopefully they can carry it through this long break and into this game. Folks, 2-1 for Arsenal. I'm looking for them to kind of knock this out of the park and really put the squeeze on Liverpool for the championship. Folks, looking at things here, Sheffield United, 14 points on the season. They are the bottom of the Premier League. 19th for Burnley, now 3 points ahead of Sheffield United. Nottingham Forest with their 4-point penalty, folks. So they drop their 4 points down to the last relegation spot. They will go down as of right now. Folks, there's about 7 games left of the season. Folks, Luton Town is staying up right now. They are a point up on Nottingham Forest, sitting in the final spot for the Premier League for next season, 17th. Luton Town now 3 points behind Everton. Everton's sitting in 16th. Looking a little bit better after the appeal. Brentford sitting up in 15th, just a point up on Everton. They are 3 points behind Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace sitting 14th, 29 points, and 6 points behind Bournemouth. Bournemouth in 13th. They are 3 points behind Fulham, who's really been on a good run trying to catch up to Wolves and Chelsea. Fulham, 38 points on the year. Just 1 point behind Chelsea, 2 points behind 10th place Wolves. Folks, Wolves tied with Newcastle, and Newcastle in a good place right now. They could, with a draw at least for now, move ahead of Wolves on goal differential to 9th. Brighton sitting in 8th place, 1 point ahead of both. Keeps on flashing. Brighton sitting 1 point ahead of both Newcastle and Wolves, so 42 points for Brighton, and they are just 3 points behind West Ham United. Again, West Ham for that final Europa League spot. Spurs still sitting in 5th and 3 points behind 4th place Aston Villa, trying to hang on to Champions League after falling away from the title fight. Yeah, Villa's down 7 points to Manchester City right now, folks. Liverpool and Arsenal tied at 64, and with the run, like I said, of the goals in the last 6 match weeks, Arsenal is ahead on goal differential, plus 46 to plus 39 over Liverpool, and just a credible run by Arsenal. Okay, folks, that's been Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett. I'm going to go watch the rest of the West Ham Newcastle game. Then Bournemouth and Everton are coming on. If you could subscribe, like, share, send an invite to the Facebook page, be muchly appreciated. Be trying to do another episode either Sunday or Monday, depending on what's going on there. Morning wake up bed hair. Yeah, drop a like, share a comment. If there's any insight to the PSRs, I'd love to hear it. Any rumors on what may actually come about for Chelsea or Manchester City eventually coming with their known charges. Also, anything coming up that may be known about the Forest appeal. The following second charge for Everton, that's one I've been not seeing anything on. I'm not sure. Maybe that's going to cover both somehow, because we're looking at 6 points. Again, a lot of confusion in there for me, folks. That's frustrating. But anyway, this has been Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett, and folks, we will catch you. Oh no, I won't. Oh, there. Later.
Tell me what hides behind your eyes. When darkness falls, does it whisper all its secret lies? Can you hear me? Are you still there? Does anyone care? They tell you lies. You can be more than you see before your eyes. Lies, they're always lies. Listen and